government policy has largely been stable. So the idea of unstable policy, I don't think is in question. But in a campaign year like this, anything is possible because the government, the administration, they want to win their elections to remain in power. So if any support group mounts enough pressure on the government, they might shift policy to win elections.
This is SOUQ Business Landscape. Nigerian companies open 2026 on a subdued note, with business conditions largely stable, but growth momentum easing, according to the Stanbic IBTC Bank Nigeria Purchasing Managers Index released Monday. Now, the survey compiled by S&P Global showed softer demand, cautious hiring, and slower output as firms adjusted to cost pressures and tighter financial conditions. Now, the headline PMI slipped into 49.7 in January from 53.5 in December, falling below the 50.0 threshold that separates expansion from contraction and indicating a mild deterioration in overall business conditions. Now, new orders weakened while input costs stayed elevated, squeezing margins and tempering confidence. Respondents cited uncertainty around demand, foreign exchange, and operating costs, though some firms reported pockets of resilience in services and consumer-facing segments. Analysts said sustained policy clarity, easing inflation, and improved credit access could be critical to restoring expansion in coming months, especially for manufacturers facing supply constraints and weak exports nationwide. Starting with you, Mokhtar, what does this signal for the economy in 2026? All hopes are high. Everybody's saying this year is going to be really beautiful for Nigerians. What does this signify? Positive, negative?
It is neutral. The news is the condition is cautious for businesses, and because this is a campaign year as we're heading towards an election, so government policy has largely been stable. So the idea of unstable policy, I don't think is in question. But in a campaign year like this, anything is possible because the government, the administration, they want to win their elections to remain in power. So if any support group mounts enough pressure on the government, they might shift policy to win elections. And in the past 2 years, we've seen a couple of policies, relaxed and shifted due to pressure. So, but the FX has been very, very stable in my own opinion. Inflation is easing. But like I said, I think businesses and companies will be cautious because it's a campaign year. And a campaign year in Nigeria, anytime, is a wild card. Anything can happen. Is unpredictable. The best economics cannot predict election year because that is when you see a lot of money in circulation that can trigger inflation. Money that politicians and people in business, in government have been keeping for the past 3 years, they get to bring it out. And these are some of the things that you cannot predict and you cannot, factor into your planning, and that is where we find ourselves as a country. But largely, if there are no surprises, most of the companies declared good profits last year, and all the indications, all the global financial experts and economics has analyzed that we are moving towards the right trajectory and we are making all the good calls and implementing all the best policies.
All right, so coming to you, Swift, he said business are cautious because it's a campaign year. And a lot of, it's been said that when it's a campaign year, people or government or politicians focus more on what will bring them back into power, what will get them elected. So sometimes it's mixed feelings, emotions, and all that. But my question now is, we have projected that this year there's going to be a lot of growth. So can growth actually come with Stable price, cheaper credit. What do you
So,
think?
when you look at the survey by S&P Global, which is coming from the Stanbic IBTC Nigerian branch, they are telling you first there was something I picked on. They said there was less hiring beginning of the year, which is expected because a lot of companies were steady. Between 2022 and 2021, 2022, there were a lot of firing. Because at that point in time, especially 2023, because of the subsidy issues, a lot of companies, did a lot of downsizing. One person started doing 5 people's jobs and all that. And we saw a lot of people work from home. Don't forget. So right now in 2025, as of last year, there were a lot of hirings. Statistics showed that a lot of companies started hiring back. Now, reason why the Naira was more steady, the economy was, looking buoyant and more, put together. And so it is normal that by 2026, there will be less hiring because all the people that they needed were already hired last year. The companies are doing well. There was no sharp policy turn for companies to downsize and sack. So there was no information that 2025 ending, people sacked massively. So meaning that there's no need to hire a lot of people.
What about expansion?
So yes. So for expansion too, people are already steady. People had already built businesses. So for example, we saw companies like Shell, Schlumberger move from downstream to upstream. They are not going to hire. They've already hired the hands for upstream. These projects have already started. We saw for example, the Lekki, the new road, the new bypass, coastal road. These projects have already started. They are not going to hire new people. The people on it are already on it. So 2026 is more of a steady economy. It's more of an economy that we've already built on. It's like the FX market too, very steady. You know that if you're investing in what do you call it, manufacturing, if you're investing in insurance, if you're investing in health, you are not moving from there. People have already mapped out to what they are doing 2026. Now, the only thing we're expecting is between midterm 2026, there's going to be lots of money that's going to enter into the economy because of election years, companies too are watching themselves because at this point, companies will have to start to lobby. You are going to have to give financial aid to campaigners. Companies like, I don't know how good the true information is, there were gist of people are like at on the sides of Dangote who didn't stand behind anybody physically in the last election. But the claim was he gave monies to all the different parties and everybody was able to come to him and he supported, but he didn't come out to say, look, I am with this person. So a lot of companies do that. Banks, we see banks, I think we saw one particular bank MD, I don't want to call his name, embrace the president when he won. I was calling him the last man standing. So automatically, but during the election, that man didn't see anything. So you don't need to be told that there were a lot of, so a lot of companies are just watching. A lot of companies are already in talks with the different political parties and saying, look, how can we come in? But many big companies, the hotel dollars, these big boys, they don't make too much noise. They are not campaigning, they are not screaming, they are not talking. So that's that for that. Now, we've seen that the economy is very stable. Our Naira, the Naira is getting more and more stable every day. And so it's telling you that a lot of companies are no more under pressure. Now, what people are now asking for, which is expected, like Oliver Twist, yes, the Naira is at 1.3. Can you do more? Can you give us more credit facilities? Can you open up? Can we loan out more money? But like I said, statistics is saying that it is from the middle of the quarter that these monies are going to come in because of the election years to make things a little more easier. So we are just waiting. But for steadiness, I think companies are doing well. There's a lot of accountability. A lot of people are retaining jobs. You're not seeing people on social media crying that they have all been fired. Yes, there was not an increase in salaries 100%, but there was a steady when it came to job, employment, and people.
All right, coming to you, Mokhtar, I want us to look at cheaper credit and stable prices. Yes, a bag of rice is between 50 to 60. I can't really say the same for flour and some other things. I know in the market, tomatoes and the rest of them, beef, relatively cheap. But do you think we will get to see that stable price all year round? And when it comes to, access to credit, we have been clamoring for single digits. Do you think we might get to that? Electricity is there. Other commodities are there. And the Naira keeps gaining. But do you think we are actually seeing, or we get to see it reflect on the commodities you and I buy every day?
The reason why we have high interest rates is to curb inflation. The CBN wants people to bring out their money.
Monies.
So, I believe, and the CBN believe, with the data and statistics that they have, that a lot of money is still in the system. So there's no logical reason to bring down the interest rate. If the interest rate comes down, the inflation will not come down. So, and we've seen the policy work. The high interest rate is why inflation is coming down, because there's a lot of money in the system. So I don't see a single digit in
This year?
credit anytime soon. I don't see it anytime soon. But I do, if government is steady with the interest rate, the CBN rate, the inflation is going to come down. Inflation might come down to single digits. I see that happening if we are steady. The only wild card, like I said, is the fact that it's a campaign year and anything can happen. Even the private sector they invest in the election. They back their own candidates. So there's going to be a lot of liquidity. So, and this is the same liquidity that the CBN has been trying to mop up. So more money is going to pour into the system. And that might affect inflation as well. And so that answers your question about steady food prices. So by the time we get into campaign proper, politicians across board, from local government all the way to the national, they start buying rice. Everybody know that rice is symbolic for our election. They start buying, grains and all of these things, and it's going to affect inflation. And it's the truth. It's the fact.
Talking about inflation.
He talked about rice.
Yes, he talked about rice. Talking about inflation, we all remember what happened in 2023 and the whole thing. There was too much money in the circulation.
Yeah.
Former CBN governor thought of a brilliant idea, according to him, to be able to curb that, which gave birth to Naira redesign and all that. And truthfully, Nigerians, ordinary citizens, bore the brunt of that single policy, that particular policy. So, and you're still saying that the CBN believes that there's too much money.
The statistics have shown that about
And there's election again.
93 or 95% of our currency
So
is in
don't you think
circulation.
it's like a circle? We are back at where we are 2023.
Yeah, so there are other policies that is supposed to go side by side. The fiscal policy of the interest rates, which is, there's the policy about cash that people can carry. And this is not just a local policy, it's a global policy of the cash that anybody can physically own without explanation. So if we are taking these policies seriously, for example, in Lagos, and is on social media, a lot of our celebrities move around with cash up to 10, 15 million in duffel bags. If you go on TikTok,
In hard currency or local currency?
local currency, which is a crime. It is a crime.
Why haven't we enforced?
Exactly. So I'm saying it's not enough for the CBN to rely on the interest rates, but we need to enforce the law that says the citizens have a limit to cash that they can carry, physical cash. So if we start enforcing those laws and we start confiscating those cash, more cash will stay in the system. And we cannot stamp out crime 100%, but it's going to reduce significantly how people move money. So, and these are money in the system. There is the law against Naira mutilation,
Yes.
but there are so many strip clubs in Lagos that people still spray cash every night in Lagos. So how much are we going? I mean, what is our will to enforce some of these laws? So how does this relate? Then you have politicians still keeping money in their houses. And there is the whistleblower policy.
Is that still effective?
hold on, there's a whistleblower policy. We don't know what is happening to that. And the government now have the burden of proof. So when you see cash in somebody's house, you have to prove that the cash is gotten through illegally. But if there's a law that says a citizen cannot carry more than certain amount, I'm not sure of the figure, then if you see a cash in somebody's house, then the burden of proof is on the person that is carrying the cash.
Yes.
But now, if I have 500 million naira in my house, the government cannot confiscate it. They need to prove that the money is an illicit wealth. But if you are enforcing the laws that say you cannot carry more than certain cash, then if you find that cash in my house, I have to prove
yes,
that I got it legitimately, and I have to explain why I am keeping cash in the house. So you see, we need to enforce all our laws. There's a reason why people thought about these laws and they voted and it became part of our constitution. So it is the boss is left in the court of the executive to enforce these laws. But whether we like it or not, cash is a very major part of our election. Grain, even in the last election, we see some politicians sharing bread, loaf of bread for elections.
Yes.
They put cash in loaf of bread. People eat the loaf of bread, they find cash. So there are so many ways, and these are going to affect prices of commodity, whether we like it or not.
Do you think there's a more effective way of not the Naira redesign this time around, or what effective way can we? Because I mean, Emefiele tried, and
I just my own.
I don't think Emefiele tried. It was biased.
Everything I was talking about is about how to enforce the physical cash that people can carry around. If we enforce
Have
that,
a law.
what about legislators? How do you enforce it with legislators? Because they are the ones who have been, rumored to who will be carrying this kind of amount during elections.
we need to get to a place where nobody is above the law. We need to get there. And it starts from routine checks on the road. If you drive certain type of car, you don't need to be a senator. The police cannot stop you. So in Nigeria, it is a crime to cover your plate number. If you drive around Lagos, you'll probably see like 500 cars with cover plate number. So how can we ensure security when we don't even know identity of a car and the people that are moving around in it? These are some things that you cannot find anywhere in the world. So it starts from policing everybody, and not just, it looks like the police is just for the poor people and the elite are largely unpoliced. And in our community, in our neighborhood, we see how much crime that the elites get away with, from maltreating their aides to child labor. A lot of the elites, they have maids that are less than 18 that work for them. They have 13-year-old that is not going to school, that is in their house to cook, to clean for their own children that goes to school. And all of these things have become norm in our society. So we need to build a society where nobody is above the law, and the police have the power to check anybody that is breaking the law. So when we get there, a senator, in 2-3 years, about 4 years ago, a sitting House of Rep member was detained in Maroko police station. But it takes the deputy governor to make that happen. So I cannot get justice against a sitting senator, a member of the House of the National Assembly, because I'm just an ordinary citizen, even though he's, violating my own fundamental human rights. I cannot get that done. But they don't have immunity. The senators, the National Assembly, they don't have immunity on paper. Do you understand? But in practical terms, they are almost untouchable, except the offend powers that be. That is beyond their powers.